First, I'm really honored to be here today because it's some kind of a coming back. I've been here, in the past with Pure. I was also in September at Moda. I do a lot of things also with Who's Next. And, thousands of retailers have looked at that presentation and have adopted some of the ideas. And my commitment to you today is that if you pick up at least one of the three rules I'm going to share with you today, I can promise you, you will improve profitability. And I want to share a story of a client who basically managed to increase gross profit by 43%. That's a lot of money in one season. And you can make it. He wasn't better than you. So, by show of hand, could you raise your hand if you are an independent boutique? Could you keep your hands up and if you are maybe having an online multi-label boutique? Cool. Can you raise your hand if you have a fashion brand? Okay. By the way, whether you are a sales agent, whether you are a brand, whether you're going to be a manufacturer, but especially if you have an independent boutique or online boutique, what we're going to be sharing today is going to be relevant to you. Please, it's not about me, it's about you. So I would like you to say, if you're going to give me 30 minutes of your time, being here today to learn how to build a more profitable business, instead of buying, I want you to make it profitable. So start planning a question that will impact your business tomorrow morning. What I want to make sure we do is, again, this can happen to you. What happened with Thomas when we started working together every month? He basically accepted that we work every month and we basically apply, ultimately, an open-to-buy plan, a merchandise plan in his store, which means that he was able to get every month, he knew how much goods he would be basically bringing in the business, and he was going to know exactly which quantity to bring in terms of products, and he was going to know also the quantity. Are those questions relevant to you? Well, they will be. Let's suppose you have a 500,000 pound business. If your gross profit is 40%, and that's a low number, it could be much higher, that means you could be basically having gross profit to pay all your expenses, your salaries, and the hard work in your store for 200,000. I'm exaggerating when I'm going to split the spring, summer, and the autumn, winter in a 50-50. But basically in one season, you could be basically having a gross profit of 100,000. If you increase that gross profit by 43%, you're adding 43,000 pounds to your store. Would you be happy to add? Absolutely. Thomas was no different, honestly. And he was like you. And maybe he was like some of you, because maybe some of you are coming here maybe to improve their profitability, but maybe some of you have realized that, they're overstock. I've been for many years the expert at Who's Next. And I can tell you, some were coming because they were overstock, understock, but not knowing how much to buy. Basically, some were definitely also, not understanding how to buy the first time for the season, not knowing how to replenish during the season. Some of them were afraid of reordering, basically, spring, summer goods in June, July, August. Afraid of reordering autumn, winter goods in December, January. But when you're under stock, you're telling the lady, go and shop elsewhere. So you need accurate numbers. So 43,000, that's what you could be putting based on that scenario. So I can promise you, if you have a brand, you have a retail boutique, I want to see you here, because the money you're going to make is going to be, I have to tell you also, some of you, especially if we go, before the year 2000, may recognize me because we've been working together. Not necessarily in the way you would have liked me to do it, but I can promise you, I was the Rolls Royce of credit management. So I had to ask some of those boutiques we all know, basically to collect their open invoices with some of my clients. But today, my mission is more about being Robin Hood. How can I help you in your store improve profitability? Whether we do it through the stock management, the buying, the merchandising, or in other ways, okay? So I need us to have and do a little game. Because before I share with you those 3 key rules that I want you to follow, I want to ask you, what do you see here? What do you see here on the right-hand side? A red circle. What do you see? A red circle. Do you think I see something else? Huh? What do you think it would be then? What? Stop sign? No. What do you see here on the right-hand side? Yeah, rectangle. That's your perspective. But do we agree that what I see when I lean on the right, what I was asking you, I see a cylinder? And I want to make sure that today you basically send me your questions, whether during the show or after the show. Doesn't matter, at any time. But allow me to show you that you should have a different perspective on your business. Whether it's going to be buying and merchandising, whether it's going to be another management aspect of running your business. Because ultimately, through the buying and merchandising, we're going to improve cash flow. We're going to increase traffic in your boutique. We're going to lesser discounts. I mean, some of my clients reduce stock level by 30%, maintaining the sales. So it can happen for you. It's not just about gross profit. So the QR code will help you ultimately get a couple of resources. So feel free, if you're interested in the PowerPoint, to register over there, and I'll be happy to send it to you. For me today, retail success is no more about what you know. It's about what you don't know. And the more you're going to open those new doors in your business, the more effective you will be. We did a game. Hopefully I've challenged you on the fact that I want you to open a new perspective in your business. Now I would like you to understand the importance of the stock and the buying. As you can see from those numbers, From those numbers, you can see that the sales are the same, the gross profit are the same, the start of the stock level are the same, the net is the same, and yet there's a difference. I want you to focus on beginning of the stock, 72,500, but then look at the goods received, 213 versus 312. And my question is, which store would you like to own? Which store would you like to own? All the numbers are the same. I want you to pay attention to I would like you to basically say, I want to own business A, and look at the end of stock, the stock at the end of the year. When you have a low stock, it means that it's going to be much more because the difference between business A and B is that in business B, you've invested £100,000 extra to reach the same financial results. So the difference is that in the business A, the £100,000 are in your pocket. And thanks to that, you can make sure that that 100,000 allows you to buy new, fresh goods relevant to your customer today. Not the 100,000 extra you have in business B, which most probably are going to be old, the wrong ones, in the wrong product categories. So I'm going to go speedy, but if you want how to calculate, for example, the amount of discounts you give away, I just need 2 numbers. It's going to take less than 2 minutes, but take a picture if you wish. Otherwise, register, and I'll be happy to walk you through. It's really important to understand the amount of discounts you give away to people, because the discounts are the biggest thief in your store. And not knowing that number. On top of it, if you're a multi-independent boutique, multi-label boutique, I want it to be 8 to 15%. I know that some of you might calculate it and say, Thierry, I'm safe. I've got 10. Correct. But then I'm going to ask you a second question. What's the level of your stock? Because if your stock is too much or too little, you are losing sales or being overstocked, and therefore ultimately affecting your long-term viability of the business. So the amount of discount is not the only question. And that, again, is the question of perspective. Do you know that? Maybe you do. Great. Maybe you don't, and we can move forward. So what do we want? Why the art and science? Because you have the art. You know your customer. You know what they want. But the science is about knowing how much to buy and when to bring the goods in. And that is the science. And I can give you some tools to make it work for you on your own if you wish, or with others if you wish. So it's really about having that right amount of products at the right time in the right quantity. So that's the key one thing I cannot allow you to leave. Because when I was at Who's Next, when I delivered that presentation, 70-80% of independent retailers do not do it effectively, meaning you are leaving sales on the table. I want you to make sure you basically track your sales in stock, whether you do it manually or with the EPOS system. By the way, I've helped clients buy just a basic cash register, 24 buttons, nothing else. But thanks to that, 12 buttons were for the product categories and 12 buttons were for the discounts. And she was, with discipline and consistency, pulling out the numbers, sales by product category, and basically total discounts by category every month. And she was able to calculate the amount of gross profit, of profitability by product category. And she was able to improve the business just like that. If you have a more sophisticated system, then you're going to be able to print much more. You're going to be able to do it by brand, and you're going to do it by season, everything. It's going to be, of course, more powerful. So one action I want you to basically be able to do is to revisit that. Because I haven't had a single client where we still didn't tweak a little bit the product categories. I had a story where, an EPOS company goes and asks me to deliver something for their annual, basically a retail presentation. And one of the lady I was asking, what kind of product categories do you track? And she talks about, maternity dress, maternity jeans, maternity tops, and then apparel and accessories. So I said, you're a maternity store. No. Because basically, the people before her, and because the business was more maternity focused in the past, they created this classification. And basically, they kept it. But today, it doesn't make sense anymore because she's not maternity. So, I want you to pay attention. Ultimately, I know that some of you, if you're an independent boutique, you may not have the time to maybe track your 8, 10, or 12 product categories in the business. I get it. But there's a rule, which is a 20-80. Do you know the 20-80 rule? Can you raise your hand if you know the 20-80 rules? The 20-80 rule is going to say that 20% of your efforts are going to produce 80% of the outcome. 20% of your product category are going to do 80% of the sales. Promise. It might be 30-70, I agree. Just track those. Because imagine the mistake you're making. If your dress is part of those big classes, the lady comes in your store, she doesn't find the dress, what will she do? She's go somewhere else. Will she give you a second chance? Maybe. Her body language tells me, Thierry, unlikely. No, but that's true. You tell me that. And yet, you're going to be faulty of leaving one of your top product category out of stock. I go and visit a brand. So that's why if you have a brand, you should be here. Otherwise, you're failing. They're in Mayfair. Minimum, they have to do $1.5 million to break even, considering the size of the store, minimum. I sit down with the CEO and the retail director, and I ask them the question, what's your number one product category? Dresses, Thierry. Okay? How much is it as part of total sales? 40%. So minimum 600,000 pounds in just dresses. But potentially 2 of your boutiques. Huh? And I say, what do you track? Dresses, cool. I say, what kind of dresses do you do? Short, medium, long, cool. So what do you track every month? I've just told you. What do you want me to repeat myself? Dresses. Okay, wait, and then fire me. I said, can you tell me whether you need to basically bring 30% short, 70% long, or 30% long and 70% short? Guess what was his answer? I don't know. I don't know. He's got a store in Mayfair. Huh? Mayfair. Can you really afford to waste money and leave money on the table? Okay. Doesn't make sense. So please, action number one is this one. Track your product categories. First, because most independent retailers I've been speaking to, who's next internationally? I'll be in Berlin at end of March. So feel free to meet over there again. You only track the brands. Think about it. I want to change your perspective. If you only track the brand and you forget to do proper category analysis ahead of the brand, if the brand dies, what do? Normally you reallocate the budget, correct? You're not going to let the budget go. And you should reallocate it according to the product categories. So we can go deeper, but make sure that we do that. Keep that focus of the 80-20. Yeah. So this is, of course, the thing I want you to understand. When I've told you about that boutique in Mayfair, make sure that when you have a product category which is huge, 30, 20, 30, 40, 50% of sales, break it down straight away. Analyze it at even top level. Because the one thing you also forget, I get frustration with people with EPOS system. I really love EPOS, suppliers. I want them to sell you a good system. But sometimes their system, their reporting at level 2 or level 3 is not going to be as powerful. So if you don't sometimes put the short, medium, long dresses at primary level of reporting, you're going to, basically it's going to frustrate you to pull out the right reports in a timely manner. So make sure you track that effectively for your business. Now, don't worry, I've been guilty as well, working with clients and allowing them to overbuy. What I want you is to say, look, I'm going to dedicate a specific amount to a specific product category. And then you're going to divide it, based on your key brands you're currently buying as a multi-label retailer. And of course, plan maybe some money for some new brands. I want you to bring new brands because that's what's going to excite your consumer in the store. But then what I want you to make sure is that if you decide to leave less money on a brand, then you can allocate that extra to another brand. But don't try to say, I overbuy, and you always buy the same or overbuy, because otherwise we start the season and you're already overloaded with stock. That's not necessarily an issue if you feel that previously maybe your dress class was not performing because you couldn't find the right supplier. So you decide you find it, you increase the budget, maybe. But then the sales have to basically follow every month thereafter. What I want you to also draw to your attention, that our goods are perishables. Maybe they're not bananas, apples and pears, but that within 15 to 45 days, 60 days, they're going to start losing money. So you can't necessarily wait the end of the season. We don't have the time to go into the different ways for you to get rid of the goods without necessarily discounting them, okay? But there's a lot of solutions, easy to put in place, okay? So, action plan, I want you to review your product category analysis in your store. And I want you to make sure that, you have a commitment, if it's not already done, to analyze initially first the product categories and then the brand. You need a quick insight? Most people will try to help you. If you come to me even with a quick question, I'll be able to give you a quick answer free of charge. So make sure that it works well. The second point I want you to review is to understand that every product category has its own sales curve. And by the way, I had a client, she had 3 stores nearly on the same street. Honestly, really less than 100 meters from one another. But the traffic was not the same. The sales were not the same. If you have 2 stores in the Champs-Élysées, odd and even number, you're not going to be selling the same thing. I want you to be able to track it, because then you'll understand also when the goods are needed in your store. So it's going to be much more effective. Remember, your customers are not going to buy, Halloween stuff starting November without a discount. You're not going to be selling as much ice cream in the winter than you would in the summer. The same applies to your dress. By the way, you might wonder, Thierry, where are your credentials on that? That's a very good question. Well, first, every month for the past 25 years, I've been working with brands and retailers. Second thing, I'm also working with an American partner, Management One, and basically we deliver for over 30 years that merchandise plan to you around the world. Today, it's over 3 billion, in sales that we basically track every month by product category. We know it works. We know the numbers can be accurate, very accurate. So track basically your sales in each product category. Again, you don't have the time, work on the 20-80 rule. That's fine. By tracking it, you will basically improve the results of your organization, and you're going to put more business inside the retail store. The last point is, of course, is the fact of saying, look, we need to understand that there's the stock to sales ratio to take into account. Meaning, when you want to do 10,000 pounds in sales in dresses for the month of March, how much stock do you need on the 1st of March? And that's also a scientific number. Can I give you that number today? No, I can't. Because it's basically based on your store. It's going to be based on the product category, on the start, the middle, or the end of the season. It's going to be based also on your performance. However, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. If you're maybe starting a new product, you may want a little bit more stock to feed the demand. And sometimes, the stock to sales ratio could be 5. I'm sure you're going to understand. If you deal with kids, if you sell jeans, would you need a little bit more jeans, footwear, or kids stock to feed the demand? Absolutely, because of the sizing. With the jeans, because of the waist and length. So there are product categories which are basically requiring a little bit more stock to feed the demand. I can promise you, where do you fail? Where did Thomas, when he managed to increase his sales, his gross profit by 43%, he made it? First, he followed the plan. And when I told him, basically in December, January, would you mind buying more autumn-winter stuff? His first reaction was like you. No way. Thierry, very soon I'm going to have to discount. I said, the lady's going to come in the store, she's not going to find the dress she wants, and she's going to leave. No, but the season is over. I said, maybe in your head, but in the store, the woman wants it. That's the way. So he did buy more autumn-winter goods in December and January. Now, he was smart, and I pushed him to do it. I said, look, some of the brand, even starting mid-November, they start discounting some of their old stock, autumn-winter. He was so smart, he did it so well that he had managed to basically buy some brand stock at 30% off, but having 2 weeks during which he didn't have to basically give the discount to the customer. So that accelerated the gross profit increase. So there's a lot of ways for you to improve the profitability of your business. So look at it with fresh new eyes, okay? By the way, I have some clients who say, no, Thierry, I want to work on my own. What did I do? For those clients, I built a master Excel. Do you imagine you have one Excel and all the data you want is in one Excel? Meaning you can buy before the season, you can make the reorder during the season, and you can analyze the brand profitability or the product category's margin in one Excel. You just select. You use a pivot table and it works. I met Laurence in Paris and she told me, Thierry, I've got more cash than I could imagine, despite COVID. So it doesn't matter how you want to do it, there's a way. Just change your perspective, okay? So, again, let's quickly, if you just look at sales, you're going to say, Thierry, I might be focusing on dresses. If you start looking at sales and then average stock, you're going to say, Thierry, oops, maybe dresses are not so efficient. There's got to be something, which is going wrong. And you're right, because what does it mean? You nearly have a year of stock because those are at retail price, at retail level. So you actually have a year of stock in dresses. So something's wrong. And if you then look At the other piece of data, the other indicators, what do you see? If I focus on what we call the gross margin return on investment, which is basically the amount of money you make. So every time they invest basically £1 in dresses, you get 93p back. Why? Because they're not turning quick enough. Every time you invest £1 in tops, you get £3.45 back. So you want to invest one, get £3.45 back. Why are those indicators important to you? Because ultimately you can see whether you're going to market them more or market them less, whether you're going to put them in the window or not. You need to have that data to be having a meaningful impact on your business. You don't need to do it all. You can start small. You can start with 20% of what really matters in your business and then grow from there season after season. That's what I recommend some people. So do the same. Absolutely, do the same. Because, the difference between you not having a merchandise plan and having a merchandise plan, even just £5,000 difference, at retail, it could be, ultimately 15. And if you have to discount that overstock, you're already losing 7,000. And that can pay for, 3, 6, or 12 months of an expert coming to your store, So I don't want to frighten you. That's our open to buy plan, but that's not what I want you to focus on. That's our numbers that we drive every month with the client. But if you have basically an open merchandise plan, the benefit of it is that it's going to be customized to your business. It's going to help you ultimately see the business with fresh new eyes, and you're going to improve your cash flow. You're going to improve the traffic because your stock is going to be relevant to the demand. And you're going to have it so accurately because it's also going to be based on the product categories that the customer wants to see in your store. So the benefits, go from having a balanced stock. I see many stores where basically your dresses are 20% of sales, but they're not 20% of stock and not necessarily 20% of the space. The more you have a balance between sales, stock, and space, the more effective and the more profitable your boutique is going to be. By the way, the brands are also guilty and faulty on that. I'm working with many brands where, again, they don't track their product category in a fine-tuned level, meaning they are not going to do what we talked about the short dress, mid dress, and long dress. Or sometimes they add an extra factor, which might be the price point, or basically the fashion style versus the classic styles, or the cut. So ultimately, you're going to have all those tools available to you by using a system which is going to be driven by a little bit more data, and certainly analyze your product category, then analyze the brand, then try to pay attention, I would say, to the sales in each product category, and ultimately, I would say you want to track the last thing, which is the stock to sales ratio, if you can. Now, what action do I want you to take? The product category is really the key thing. That's the one takeaway I want you to have and forget not to do. And I want you to basically take action straight away within 24, 48 hours. Because also, if you do a better job here today, and the next 2 days, you're going to improve profitability in your business. Okay, so product category and then brand. I need some kind of dashboard. We track sales, discounts, and stock. At the end of the season, basically in May, June, July, in November, December, January, you have some product categories which are under stock. Meaning if you look at your planned sales for next month, and you see the stock at the start of the month, you will see, Thierry, I'm nearly having the same level of stock as the amount of sales I need to make. So you're going to be under stock. You will see it yourself. Just look at that. But pay attention to the numbers, and you will know that you need to replenish. So if you're a manufacturer, you may want to say to the client, do you look at your numbers? Because sometimes we forget to look at them. So turn the goods quickly. It's perishable goods. So the more you're going to turn the goods quickly, the better off you're going to be. When I say management tools, leadership skills, mindset, because we need to change our mindset for sure. For example, the 20-80 rule. If we apply it diligently, it's going to impact the business because it works. It really works. So my last question is, have a sounding board. It can be you. You can open yourself a lot of the right questions. can be somebody else in the business, somebody outside the business. But make sure that you are challenged. So the reality is, whatever your profitability today, because you might have been here also because some of you are not necessarily taking a salary in the business. I had situations like that. Is your store profitable? Yes. Are you taking a salary? No. So maybe the store is not actually profitable. No. So once again, feel free to ask questions. I want to answer your own questions. If you want to know more, feel free at any time. Would you like to share maybe a question that we could discuss? Because I'm really open if we have a few more minutes until the next speaker comes. Yes.
Sorry, do you want to just say this?
Yes.
No,
No, that's okay. I'll say the question. But no, we were talking about the overstock.
Yeah.
And
and then you have a wastage.
yeah, I mean, your colleague basically states the challenge of having overstock in the business. So again, with my mindset, I hate people who are going to give you a solution which is going to be short-lived. I know it works for our mindset because then we don't have to change. But can we look at the long-term benefit? So I want to make sure we fix the problem, but can I also warn you and say, how can we fix why the overstock happens? Otherwise, it's going to come back. It's going to come back, promise. If you made the mistake once, why would you not make the mistake twice? So what I would like us to do is to say, look, to fix the overstock, first, can you go in your stock every 2 weeks and tell me, Thierry, this hasn't sold? I don't care if you received it 15 days ago or 30 days ago. If you put it in the window, if you put it on people, nothing happens, they hate it. I'm exaggerating. Take action straight away. Because what you forget, I'm sorry to be a bit passionate, but suppose you bring goods in January. You know by the end of January that those goods are dead. Doesn't work. You sell them at 50% off. You still make a margin. Huh? You sell them in early Feb. You have the cash. You reinvest in similar goods. Are you going to make a mistake a second time? Let's assume you make a second mistake. End of Feb. You resell it at 50%. You still make a margin. Huh? You bring some new goods on stock in March. This time, bingo, correct? But you have more margin, and if you sell it before the end of March, you can rebuy something to bring something in April. You can basically turn the goods every month. And what do? What too many retailers do? They sit on the goods. Thierry, I'm going to sell them in June. Okay. But when the lady comes in your store, Thierry, I've seen it in January, this dress. I've seen it in Feb, this dress. I've seen it in March, this dress. What do you think she's going to do? Well, she's going to visit the competition. Thank you. Thank you. So now we need also to fix the problem so that it doesn't happen again. Because the question is, I want to understand is, did the agent or the brand force you to buy? Hopefully not. Are you overspending because you don't control? Is it because you don't have any kind of merchandise plan to guide you? Is it also that, I want to make sure that when you buy from a brand who is maybe, with forward order brands, could you try to maybe split the goods over 3 to 4 months and not dump all the goods in 1 month? Because I want you to receive every month fresh goods. You know why Thomas was successful? You know why our clients are successful? Because we make sure they bring fresh goods in every product categories every month. Maybe we're not going to bring high heel boots in summer. Maybe we're not going to bring flip-flop in winter. But otherwise, every month, they bring fresh goods. We have an additional indicator, and you can calculate yourself. We have what we call a fresh factor. How much good did you receive over the last 30, 60, 90 days compared to your total stock? The higher that amount, I can promise you, the more sales and profitable sales you are making. Did I answer a little bit your question? Is there another question we should answer before we either jump, I would say, to our next buying phase, or we can have and discuss outside of course, the catwalk space? look, I can only thank Pure for putting a business content, because I feel we all need to improve profitability in those times. So I just want to respect your time, because you gave me over 30 minutes, and that's a lot. I treasure that, really. And I want to make sure that you take advantage to say, look, approach people, whether it's me or somebody else, but open new doors in your business. Because even in chaos, as one of my mentors told me, Thierry, even in chaos, there are opportunities. So find them. Have that positive mindset to find those opportunities, and you will see you will basically be able to turbo boost, I would say, your profitability. And once again, it doesn't have to start with 43%. Even if you just add 10%, I'm sure it's going to help you either renovate the store, help for the kids, incentivize the staff, or buy better goods. Happy buying, happy retailing, and I'll see you next time. Wonderful.